This is always a fascinating list. Top 7 cornerbacks in the NFL. The reason why it's always so fascinating each year when I do this is, I've done this for a couple years now, where I like to do these lists. And the reason why this one is always so, I think, difficult is because cornerbacks in general just have such high variance. Guys like Jalen Ramsey, who is universally accepted to be a great corner, has had ups and downs. He's been like a guy who's not even played like a #1 corner for certain seasons, and then he's looked like the best corner in football in other seasons, and that's the case with everyone. There's no such thing as a corner who is great every single year, at least not in the passing era that we're in now. That being said, there's still some damn good corners and guys who I feel very comfortable with. So because of that, let's get into my list of top 7 corners. Actually, real quick before we even get into that, just want to give my honorable mentions. A couple of veterans were some honorable mentions, like Darius Slay and Stephon Gilmore. Those guys have been very good the last we've seen them, but their age is going to take me, just give me a little bit of concern. Again, the way I evaluate this is top 7 corners right now. So heading into the 2022 season, who would I like to have for that season? Marshawn Lattimore has been, very consistent at times. Actually, consistency has kind of been one of his issues, but he can definitely shut people down when he matches up well. See certain Mike Evans games. Xavier Howard didn't have his best year last year, but had 10 interceptions the year before. He's an honorable mention. James Bradbury and Trayvon Diggs, and other 2 guys who, Diggs I did throw in as an honorable mention. Like, listen, turnovers are turnovers. Regardless of what you want to say about the yards he gives up, turnovers are turnovers. But again, you can't lead the league in yards against and make the top 7 list, in my opinion. And Bradbury, again, like a couple of the other guys, not coming off his best season, but is someone who, certain years would be on this list. Number 7, give me Tre Davious White, who a lot of people would have higher on this list, and he's had years where he's been debatably the best cornerback in football. The issue is those years are kind of starting to get further and further away. Been in the league for 5 years now, and the past 2 seasons he hasn't looked spectacular. And one thing that always concerns me about corners in general is I like faster corners. White isn't as fast, and when he's coming off of a couple of not great seasons, and Bills fans will say this because it's true, big part of it has been injuries, but that factors in. I care about injuries. I would love to see Tre Davious White come back and bounce back and return to form. He's still my 7th favorite corner, but I did drop him a little bit because of that. Number 6, give me Denzil Ward, someone who I think has played multiple schemes already in his young career and done a good job at it. He is someone who, again, has speed and doesn't give up much separation hardly at all. So I really like Denzil Ward. I had him 11th on my top 25 players, 25 or younger. So, 25 or younger. So I'm a big fan of Denzil Ward, and I think that Cleveland, a team that, values coverage. Listen, they play 2 safety deep coverages, so you could simply say, kind of an easier scheme for him to excel in, but I think he does a good job in it, and I think he has proven that he could be good outside of that scheme as well. So it's definitely on the younger side, which is maybe why I don't have him higher, and I do think the guys ahead of him have had higher heights, but he's been very consistent already. Number 5, give me J.C. Jackson. In the land of variance when it comes to cornerbacks, J.C. Jackson has kind of been the one constant here. He is someone who's consistent, which that alone is surprising. Again, I think you could argue some of these other guys have had higher heights, in my opinion, which is why I put them there. But I really like J.C. Jackson. He's someone who can play man, he can play zone, and the fact that he's only at 5 almost feels a little criminal to me a little bit, and he has had some good years. So this is one that you could certainly talk me into putting him a little bit higher. Also, I just realized I forgot to mention the number you see to the right of these players. You might have been confused about that. That's where they rank in terms of their PFF grades. So Tre Davious White was 33rd, Denzil Ward 15th last year, J.C. Jackson 5th last year. He's 5th on my list. So I didn't do that because of that, but that's how it worked out. Number 4, give me A.J. Terrell here. Terrell is kind of weird because he's only played 2 years. So that's the only reason I'm a little bit lower on him. He's number 4. But the reason why I'm a little bit lower on him is I've just only really seen it 1 year. His rookie year, he showed flashes. Like, I still remember that Kansas City game. I'm like, this guy can really play. It's kind of funny how the thing that knocked him in college was that he got burned by Jamar Chase, and then we just found out literally everyone gets burned by Jamar Chase, so you can't hold that against him. He is someone who, again, Terrell Island is a real thing. He was, PFF's second-rated corner last year. I agree with that. He might have even been number 1. when you factor in just the lack of help around him, he's awesome. The Falcons have an absolute stud at corner. I've just only seen it for 1 year. Corner does vary a lot, so I'm going to put a few more established guys a little bit higher, but again, you could talk me into him being higher. Number 3, maybe someone you could talk me into being lower if you wanted to. Marlon Humphrey did not have a great year last year. And element of that was just Ja'Marr Chase stuff, which, okay, fine. He does that to everyone, right? Ask AJ Terrell. I just feel like I've seen more consistency out of Humphrey over the course of his career than I have with someone like Terrell, which is why I put him at number 3. Corner is a sport where it's a position in the sport where you're going to have some variance. You're not going to have consistent year in and year out fantastic years. That's just going to happen. Like, again, the guy who I have at number 1 has also had years where he didn't crack the top 50 in PFF grade. I'm not that concerned about that as much. Just the reality is that's the life of a corner. Is a lot of it is, dependent on the other variables. He's really good. He checks all the boxes. He's a fantastic corner. Every trait that you want to have in a corner, he has, and he's had some amazing seasons. And when you factor in how much the Ravens rely on their corners to have success, and then with all the injuries that happened last year, which obviously affected Humphrey when he was on the field as well, that's kind of why I'm still going to, chalk it up to more of a wash than anything else. I'm still a believer in Marlon Humphrey. Again, if you want to put Terrell ahead of him because of what happened last year, this is a right now list, so I think that's fine, but I'm going to value the bigger sample size. Number 2, Jaire Alexander, who when I made my top 25 players, 25 or younger, I had him a little bit lower on my list, and more I thought about it, really diving into the corners, I put him, I had Terrell ahead of Alexander on that one, and I forgot to include Humphrey because I'm stupid, but I decided to flip those two now because, again, you see that number, so there's an asterisk next to, he was PFF's highest rated corner last year, not as in 2020, not in 2021. He didn't play enough in 2021 to qualify snaps-wise. So he's coming off an injury, and that does dock him a little. That does. It's a little bit something, but, at the end of the day, he's still fantastic. I think Jaire Alexander is, again, one of those guys who he can play zone, more of a man corner, but he can play zone, and he's just elite at man. He is someone who can shut guys down at times. He had 2 interceptions in an NFC Championship game that they would go on to lose, but not because of him. He played great in that game, mostly because of, Kevin King being the number 2 corner in that game was the real issue. He's someone who him and Eric Stokes, who had a great rookie year playing, opposite each other, that could be a really scary secondary to go up against. As long as he stays healthy, he's number 2 and could be number 1. And number 1, give me that guy, give me Jalen Ramsey, who I've talked about, he has had some down seasons over the course of his career. He has not been consistently great, but he was PFF's number 1 rated corner last year, and that's including playoffs. Again, that he got way too much criticism for that Super Bowl, I think. He did get burned by Ja'Marr Chase once. Everyone gets burned by Ja'Marr Chase. We can't hold that against him. And even in that last play, he kind of stumbled. But he held his own for a good chunk of that play. Plays don't last 5 seconds. So, he held his own for as long as he had to on that final 4th down play. So I'm not concerned about that too much. And he's just, again, he's someone who makes a lot of splash plays. He's someone who can get the star plays. He can take on a number 1 receiver and shut them down as long as they're not Ja'Marr Chase. So that's kind of the value, that he has. Yes, he got burned by Chase, and then he got burned by Mike Evans in that playoff run, but he only gave up 1 touchdown of 20 or more yards the entire rest of the season. Like, this regular season he had was one of the best regular seasons a corner has had ever. So this was fantastic. Yes, he had a couple of bad plays in the Super Bowl, but that's the life of a corner. You're not going to have great plays consistently. And if you tell me, you need to win 1 game, I'm going to let you pick 1 corner, any corner you want. I am taking Jalen Ramsey, another guy who's played every scheme in the book and been great at all of them. So I'm a big Jalen Ramsey guy. But yeah, that's my list. What is your list? Let me know in the comments below. What are your thoughts on this list? Why do you think it is stupid? I know lists always get people riled up, which is part of the fun of it. Let me know in the comments below. Always love hearing from you. And of course, as always, thanks for watching.